Hello everyone, welcome back to another Deltarune theory. And this one, it's pretty off the wall. I guess it's on the floor actually, because it's about chairs. This is chair theory. So, I teased this at the end of my last theory video, which was quite a while ago. But since then we got more updates about Deltarune Chapter 3 and 4 coming out probably pretty soon after this video goes live. And by pretty soon I mean within like 3 to 4 months. So I need to get these theories out here, the craziest theories, before it's too late. And what would I ever do if I couldn't share my craziest theories? Anyway, this is chair theory. If you don't know where this chair image comes from and why would I make an entire theory about it, well, in the Spampton sweepstakes, which happened like 2 years ago now, oh my god, this chair appeared on a webpage called But What If It Could, and then when you click the chair, it sort of like, it uses like water sound effects and turns into a black blob. Get darker than dark. If you want to see it for yourself, the link will be in the description to the page. And if you click the chair multiple times, eyeballs appear, which look like our image_friend, which I'm sure you know if you're in the Deltarune theory community. At this point, is maybe related to Gaster. We're pretty sure about that, but we have no idea in what capacity. So this chair, for some reason, with like a blanket on it or something, is apparently very important. So let's just get into it. Here's a bunch of chairs from Hometown. I'm not going to tell you where they're from, but you can obviously see which three seem the most likely in terms of matching it up with this chair here. Now, none of them have the exact same colors, but it could be, especially because there's this question of could it be darker than dark, that this chair is like got no light on it, where, you know what I mean? Like it's in a dark room. So the shadows are heavier and the colors may seem a little bit darker than the chairs that we see in Hometown, which it's always daytime when we're exploring in Hometown. So that can kind of cover up some discrepancies, but you'd think the chair would still be blue, which kind of gets rid of these two red chairs at the bottom, which come from QC's Diner and what is it called? Icy's Pizza. The computer chairs from the computer lab, which are probably more like office chairs anyway, and they're also the wrong color. And then the Dreamer dining room chairs from the Dreamer house, which have the 3 slats in them, typical of dining chairs. And the Tower of the Gods classroom chairs that are in Toriel's classroom that have the typical hole cut in the middle of them. None of those really match that well. Also, the funny thing that I noticed while making this video is that Alphys's classroom just doesn't have chairs. Like, Toriel's classroom does, and Alphys's doesn't, which I guess is because we actually see students at desks in that classroom, and it would be weird trying to line up the chair sprite with the walking sprites, but I do think it's kind of funny. Only the preschoolers, or like the elementary age primary schoolers, get chairs. After that, you have to stand during all your lessons, which does kind of make it impressive that Chris sleeps through most of them. Anyway, these 3 chairs on the right are most obviously the closest match. So let's start with the hospital chair. So I think when you see this it could get darker than dark chair, your first inclination is to be like, oh, it's that chair in the hospital, because they do look very similar. However, they don't actually match in a lot of ways that matter. For one, the legs are a different color. Our darker than dark chair has black legs, whereas the chair in the hospital here has blue legs. Now, that could be, again, because of the change in lighting. It could just be that the chair is casting essentially a shadow underneath it that is making the legs appear darker. However, there are some other discrepancies that make me think this probably isn't the chair. One being that it seems to have a cushion on it. Our darker than dark chair. You can see there's one line that runs up from the chair leg to the light spot at the top, which would be the top of the cushion. which this hospital chair seems much more like a sort of generic plastic chair. It doesn't seem to have a cushion on it at all. Along with that, the color does seem to be a little bit different, which, you know, like I said, lighting, whatever. But it is something to note that the chair is very, like, turquoise, where this chair seems very blue. As for what the blanket on this darker than darker chair could be, if it's from the hospital, obviously it could be a coat from somebody who's sitting in the chair with Rudy, or it could be the blanket that Rudy has right now on the hospital bed. Either way, that does make some sense. Who knows? Maybe it's even the Beauty and the Beast flower cover that they have in Beauty and the Beast flowers. Probably not that one. But it's at least an explanation for why there would be a coat left on this chair. The second one I want to talk about is also in the hospital, funny enough. And this one is the benches, or maybe two chairs put beside each other in the hospital waiting room. I do lean closer towards benches in this case, because there is a line between the cushions that's very hard to see because these images aren't at the best quality. There is a line between the cushions, but not the backrest, which makes it seem like they are not chairs that could be split up. But you never know. It could be the fact that they actually can be split apart, and they're supposed to be sort of the same kind of chair as this chair in the actual hospital room. However, this chair does look a lot plusher. I think out of all the chairs that we're going to talk about, this one is definitely the thickest, which does sort of line up with our mystery chair. And it's also a slightly different color. Like, you can see the hospital room chair here is much more turquoise, whereas this one seems much closer to white, which, if dark light is being cast on our mystery chair, it would make sense it would be airing closer to light blue if it was white than anything else. As for why there would be a coat here, basically the same answers as for the hospital room chair, although maybe slightly less sensible, because you'd think it would be left in the room. You wouldn't leave your coat in the waiting room, unless I guess you got bad news while you were in the waiting room, perhaps. I don't know. But finally, the chair, which I personally think tells us what this mystery chair is. And that is the chair we find in the mayor's office. Well, not the mayor's office, the waiting room for the mayor's office. Now, I've got the chair's comparison on the left here. You can see it's got thicker cushions, unlike the hospital room chair, which does match our mystery chair better. And it has black legs that are visible, which is something that the bench, this chair couldn't match, neither could this chair. It's also a lighter bluish color instead of being a turquoise color, which, if it's under some sort of harsh light or darkness, could explain the coloration of our mystery chair as well. Now, given what we know about Mayor Holiday, and even what we can see from the waiting room itself, this chair probably isn't actually the chair in the waiting room out here. It's likely that the chair is actually inside the mayor's office. And I say that because I find it very likely that Mayor Holiday would have coordinated chairs between the office and the waiting room. So there's probably more of this set of chairs inside the actual office. And as additional sort of evidence for that, you can see her window has curtains on it for some reason. This is a window that only goes from the mayor's office out to the secretary. I'm not really sure why you'd even need that, to be honest. But it does have curtains on it that are the exact same color as the chair we see in the waiting room. Which makes me believe this is all color coordinated to be light blue, which makes sense with, the holidays' whole icy theming. And hey, it all tracks with our chair here. And if light blue just so happens to be Mayor Holiday's color, which, I mean, her secretary also has light blue nail polish, it seems somewhat likely, I mean, if we're just drawing conclusions from everything we've seen in this area, then this coat, which is also light blue, or blanket, or whatever it ends up being, might be Mayor Holiday's. And what that means, I have no idea. But I do personally think that this chair in the lobby of the mayor's office here is almost a perfect match to our mystery chair, which I think at least gives you a direction to theorize in if you want to talk about what this is supposed to represent. What if it could get darker than dark? It's an interesting proposal, right? We don't really know what it's exactly trying to say, other than it obviously being a reference to entry 17, where Gaster says, dark, darker, yet darker. Does it mean it's a dark world created inside a dark world? I would lean towards no in this case, if this chair is supposed to represent that, because this chair exists in the light world already. If you were to create a dark world, this chair would turn into something else, right? It would either turn into a part of the landscape or a darkener. And then if you were to create another dark fountain, it would be further diluted into something else entirely. So it makes me think there's something more or something different going on here when it comes to getting something darker than dark. And if you want to hear more about what I think darker than dark means, I have a theory about what's in the bunker, and I'll link it in the description, and you can check that out. I think that could apply here, especially with the water noises. And if there was going to be one place, this is a spoiler for that video, so if you don't want to be spoiled for the theory, I guess you can click off, but it doesn't really matter. If there was one place that would have a connection to the bunker in the case of some sort of disaster, it would definitely be the mayor's office, right? So if there is some sort of hidden entrance to the bunker that's going to leak darkness into the mayor's office, or into anywhere, I think the mayor's office would be one of the most logical places to guess that could happen. So yeah, that's pretty much the theory. It's essentially just a jumping off point for anybody that wants to, I don't know, hyperfixate on chairs for some reason. I say that as if that's not what I literally just did, but whatever. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe. Do I have more wacky wild theories in the wings before we get to chapter 3 and 4? Maybe. I feel like I've mostly got it all out of my system at this point. So thanks for coming along on that ride with me. We'll see. We'll see. If you want me to talk about anything in particular, you can leave a suggestion in the comments. Preferably it'd be something other people haven't talked about already. But obviously, it's hard to know between all the different forums like Reddit and Tumblr and, you know, all the different websites and YouTube, who's talked about what where. So if it's just something you're interested in seeing my take on, that's fine too. But until then, I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.